Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's not really a big deal in our household. Um, Usually we just like either go to brunch or go out to dinner or something, but my husband is feeling ill today, so we're gonna stay inside and watch Love is Blind because Love is Blind, I think the episodes start today, like the new season. So we're going to do a little single ladies chat and talk about transactional women and nice guys. And the show that I'm going to be talking about today is Married at First Sight, but it's far beyond that. So even if you don't watch the show, stick around because there is content for everybody. Um, I'm going to be kind of reverting back to my days as a single woman and kind of the lessons that I learned while I was in my single season, and kind of going back and forth between that and what's happening on this show because I think it shares a lot of insights. If you really watch carefully, um, you gain a lot of insight as to why it's really important to heal and to work on your own attractions before you go out and start dating and work on that trauma that causes you to be attracted to something that's maybe not so good for you. So let me show you a couple of photos and give you a little bit of background and then talk about transactional women and nice guys. Okay. So I'm gonna share actually, I don't have oh, there it is. Let me just make sure I'm live. I always have to do this, you guys. You guys know I always have to make sure I'm live, because I can't hear unless you guys say that you can hear me. So, oh, perfect. Beautiful. Okay, so let me share a couple of photos with you guys so you guys can see the people. And yes, I think this matters because um, it it kind of gives you an idea of what I'm talking about, which is so bad. Um, yeah. Okay. So let's see. Let me share this one first. Okay. So this is Madison. Madison is our transactional girly of the day. This is her husband, Alan. This is from the show Married at First Sight. They meet each other. The whole purpose of the show is to allow experts to match you with someone who is psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and physically compatible with you. And the idea is that you're not going to pick them based on their physical appearance, but rather the values that actually make a marriage last long term. And what often happens with this show is that women are still very superficial. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be attracted to your husband. I think you should be, but they want a certain type of man. And so when they get a healthier man, we're going to talk about Alan in a second. He's a people pleaser. He's a nice guy, which has its own issues. But oftentimes when women who are deemed to be societally beautiful, when they get with someone who they don't think matches them, meaning they don't think that he's good enough for them because he doesn't have a certain vibe, they often they don't work out. One of the reasons is because people like Madison who tend to be very, very attractive, but I should sleep around a lot, is they have very low self-value. So this kind of woman would not be able to recognize the value in this kind of man. Alan has his own condo apartment in Chicago. And if you live in Chicago, you know that they a lot of people purchase their condos and apartments. He drives a Porsche, not that means anything, but he's very financially stable. He cooks, cleans, renovated his own apartment, is very successful, is very kind. Now, he has some people pleasing tendencies. He has some nice guy tendencies, which I'm going to talk about later. But she did not find him attractive because he's not her type. And a lot of women and I've made this mistake in myself, so I'm not like shaming or bashing women, but a lot of times when you have access to different men because you are attractive, um, you think that you deserve or you're attracted to a certain kind of man, and oftentimes those men are not necessarily the most respectable or kind of men who are ready for marriage. Now you have to remember that this is a show about marriage, so they're saying that they're ready for marriage. Now let me show you another person. It's really important. Um, this next person I'm going to show you is Michelle and David. So this is Michelle. This is David. David lives in his parents' basement. He has a kegerator. He's 34 years old. He works swing shift in like a manual labor style job. He parties all the time. He stays up until 3 o'clock in the morning drinking. She works as an executive assistant at some sort of, some company. They were matched together for Married at First Sight, but she finds him repulsive. Now, let me show you Madison again. Madison is cheating with on her husband with this man. And people are like, why would you go? Like, you have this man in front of you who is like healthier than this guy, like emotionally. He may be a little bit of a nice guy, he's a people pleaser, but on paper, he has a lot of the qualities that women would want, right? He's willing to change. In fact, Alan wanted to change too much for her, which is a note to the men, don't just change everything for a woman. But this guy's kind of a slob, to be honest, you guys. He doesn't necessarily take care of himself. I don't even know if he has a vehicle. Um, he's just, he's in debt. He's not ready necessarily to be a leader in that sense. So the question is, why does someone like Madison, who seems to be, I mean, she's very successful in her own right. Um, she works in tech, and so she does very well for herself. And she says that she wants to be married, but why would you go for a man who stays up until 3 o'clock in the morning partying and eating tacos, who is somewhat speaks illiterately, like he doesn't enunciate, he he's not, he doesn't seem to have the highest of intellect. Why would you run after that and find this attractive? Because a lot of women are they struggle with their own self-value. And when you have a low self-value, what you find attractive are people who you can control, meaning like men that you are better than, right? So a lot of times these women will go after these men who are kind of slobs, not who won't challenge them to be better. Um, and they're not attracted to health. They're not attracted to emotionally healthy men because they haven't done the work. So even though they're on the surface, they're very beautiful. Why do all the pretty girls sleep around? Why do all the pretty girls sleep around? Madison is like, for all intents and purposes, she's a pretty girl, right? She's a pretty woman. But why do women like her sleep around when it seems that they could get anybody that they want? Because those kinds of women have very, very low self-esteem. When you have low self-esteem, you do not even find healthy men attractive. Like closeness, emotional intelligence, true intimacy is very scary for you when you have low self esteem. So you resort to short term transactional relationships, even though deep down inside you want to have a healthy relationship. And what's interesting about this relationship between Alan and Madison is that Alan said, I looked at you, and the guy should have said this, but he goes, I looked at you and I thought you might be transactional. And she got all upset. And why would you think that? I'm always being judged because I'm so pretty. And he clocked it. He clocked it. Turns out that the reason why a woman who is that beautiful is single is because she is transactional. Transactional meaning you are perfectly okay. You are perfectly okay as a transactional woman to go out at night, get a couple drinks from a guy, go home with him, and be tossed away like anybody else. You're very superficial. Transactional meaning if a man fits my box, does he work out? Is he a gym bro? Because she said she's into gym bros. Fine. I don't care. I don't care about his character. I don't care about his beliefs. I don't care about his values. As long as he fits what I think I want visually, that's who I'll date and that's who I'll marry. That is what happens when you have a low like value of yourself. Is that you are actually you find healthy men repulsive. So the inner I don't even wanna say like your inner child, but the like your innermost parts are terrified of a healthy relationship. It's very unfamiliar. So Madison spoke about, "Oh my gosh, I've dated so much and I'm tired of being judged because I'm so pretty." But it's like truly and truly you are actually attracted to unhealthy men and you think because you're so beautiful that you can only date men who look a certain way. And I hate to break this to you guys, but men who are like very obsessed with their appearance tend to be terrible people. They tend to be terrible men. I wish women were transactional because then women would respect men who want to provide for them instead of looking down on them. Uh that's an interesting perspective. I don't know that I would call that transactional. Um, I don't know that I would call that transactional, but that's an interesting I mean, I agree with you. I think that comes from a place of fear, if I'm being honest. I think that when women are afraid if they respect when men want to provide for them, they're afraid that they're gonna lose their identity, and that comes again from not knowing who you are outside of your job, not knowing who you are outside of the kind of men that you're married to, not knowing who you are outside of like your accomplishments. Because while your accomplishments define you and your work defines part of you, the reality is that you have value in and of yourself. And so if you think that like respecting men who want to provide is going to somehow damper who you are as a woman, then of course you're not going to respect it because you think that that means that he's going to take over and you're never going to be a respectable person. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, a lot of women do, they would prefer to be in the power seat. And if you're in the power seat, that often means that you're the one who is, um, you're the one who's controlling everything in the relationship. So that means, again, it comes from a place of fear. You get to run away whenever you're ready. And that's why she chose David over her husband, Alan. I believe Alan is in a much better place financially than she is. And David is in a far worse situation than Madison, but she prefers David because David is safe for her internal being. David is safe. Now, here's the thing about nice guys, which I'm going to talk about right now. Nice guys finish last means he stays till the job gets done. Why would you want a bad boy who finishes before you? Wow, that's a lot, but that's not what I meant by nice guys finish last. But a lot of girls like jerks. A lot of women like jerks. They like men who are not kind. Why? Because they don't value themselves. I don't understand that. I don't think here's the thing. I think that men should not be pushovers. Okay. That's why I say nice guys finish last. You can both not be a pushover and be kind. I don't know about this word nice, but you can both not be a pushover and be kind. The problem with Alan is that Alan is a pushover. Alan was a little puppy dog that said, "Oh, whatever you want." He spent $3,000 on clothes because she said, "I don't like what you're wearing." So he went out and let her change his whole wardrobe. Now, is there anything inherently wrong with that? No. But what that showed Madison is that he doesn't have a backbone. And so he spent the entire marriage trying to please her, the entire 4, 6 weeks trying to please her. And that's what nice guys do. And unfortunately, number one, if you're going to be, I think men should work on being kind, not nice. Nice is sometimes not respectable. Kind is respectable because that means that you still respect yourself. Alan unfortunately put himself in a position with a transactional woman, meaning she's there for a good time, not for a long time. She's not in it for the long haul. I mean, she's not married. She's been dating David for a year now since the show's been over. She's not in it for the long haul, but he spent these 6 weeks trying to please her and do every little thing that she wanted so that she would stay with him, and not realizing that when a woman doesn't want you, she doesn't want you. And the best thing you can do if you actually want to save a relationship is walk away. And let this be a message to women too, because I think women should also stop being nice. They should be kind. Being kind and nice are two different things. Women who are kind are still very respectful, but they have boundaries. So they don't let themselves get run over and pushed over by men. And men who are kind are respectful, but they don't let women tell them what to do, how to live their lives, um, only to find out that woman never liked you in the first place. Because here's the thing: if a woman is asking you to change a million different things that are not substantial, like she's like, "Oh, you need to dress better. Oh, your teeth are crooked. You have snaggle teeth." Um, those things are not typically things that women who are like interested in your character will care about. They're not. It's the same thing when women are like, "Oh, he's too short." I'm like, "Okay, to a degree, I understand that, right?" Like if you're 6 feet and you're like dating a guy who's like 5'5", that's tough for a woman, right? But those are not things that men should be feeling like they have to change. Even, dare I say it, dress, even clothing to a degree. I think that if you like the way that you dress, love the way that you dress. Don't change thinking that that thing is going to make a woman like you. Here's a little secret, you guys, that I'm going to tell you. When a woman likes a man for his character, it doesn't matter what he wears. Does it enhance the way that he looks? Does it enhance the attraction? Yes. But if a woman is like, "Oh, but I wish he dressed better." Number 1, she doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know what she wants because she thinks that marriage is based on whether or not you're attracted to someone physically. I can tell you that that's a very small part. Like, I would never wanna be married to a fine man who doesn't love the Lord, who's extremely selfish, who lives in his parents' basement, who says "with you," who doesn't have clear enunciation, who doesn't have a vocabulary. Like, I couldn't. You think that that's what you want. You think that, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm disgusted by this person because I was attracted to the shell of who they are, not what actually brings my soul value." And I think this comes a lot from like people not understanding what sustains a marriage. So whenever people are like, "Oh, I want to, oh, he's really, really nice, but I just can't stand the way he dresses." I'm like, "Girl, we can fix that." Like men will change the way that they dress for a woman. They'll do it on their own. But if you're choosing a man based on what he's wearing or based on what he's I don't know, his body, do people need to be like healthy? Yes. But if you're choosing based on that, please understand that long term, unless you're both superficial people, that won't last. Like I'm struggling to figure out how what Madison finds attractive in David. I'm trying to figure that out. But what that tells me is that I think more of her than she thinks of herself. I remember one time I was single. I was like 27 one of the better things that what women have said to me. I had this a friend of mine at the gym, and I was like, "Oh yeah," like she was like, "Are you dating?" This was like, yeah, it had to be like 25 or 26, and she's like, "Oh, are you dating?" And I was sharing with her that I was, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm talking to," like we were, I was, I had a rotation, and what she goes, "You're too good for that," for like one of the people, and she was right. She was right. And in that moment, I had to ask myself, well, what does she see in me that I don't see in myself? Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes girls are like, oh, you can do better than that, really just wanting you to be single your whole life. But genuinely, like, I respected her opinion. And she's like, no, like, you can do better than that. You can do, that's not, that's a low, that's low hanging fruit for you. And the reason why I bring that up is because if you don't know what is important in a marriage or you don't value yourself, you're always going to choose people who are not quite people who are not going to challenge you. People who are not going to make you a better person. People who are not going to help you grow. Like I can't imagine a situation where David is going to actually help Madison grow. I can't. I can't. I can't. Alan, yes. Alan said something at the end of the show too. He goes, "This is a nice guy for you." He goes, "I had to dumb down my language just for her." Like this guy has a vocabulary, okay? And he goes, "I had to dumb down my speech just for her." So here she is going, "I'm so beautiful and all these guys, they don't want me and I've just been in these relationships." And I'm like, "Oh, because behind that face there is maybe you're not attracting healthy men. You're not attracted to them, but maybe you're not attracting healthy men because you don't have anything behind your brain. Let that be a lesson. Single ladies, have something behind your face. Have something behind that pretty face of yours. Have some substance, have some intellect. Read books, listen to podcasts, have some hobbies. I'm struggling to understand the depth of Madison. I don't think it's there. So people are like, why would you go for a guy like David? That's who she's attracted to. That's her match. That is her emotional, intellectual match. That is the level of growth that she's willing to attach herself to. And that tells you something. A lot of women are attracted to bad boys. I have no interest whatsoever in the bad boy archetype. But I can understand why women do. Like women see that as confidence. Some women see that as, oh, he needs to have swag. We talked about Camille earlier in the show, talking about my husband needs to have swag. Oh, the kind of swag that David has for taking another man's wife. You want that? Because where does swag come from? Where does that bad boy image come from? It comes from doing bad things. Everybody wants this like hood to holy kind of guy, and that's not reality. You're not gonna get hood to holy. And the question is, why do you find that attractive? Why do you find that attractive? Why do you find men who where do men get their swag from? They get it from having multiple women, being conniving, yeah, cheating, playing folks, dare I say it, jail, hood booger things. That's where swag comes from. And you want swag over a nice guy? I'll tell you what, it is easier for a nice guy to learn some self respect than it is for you to turn a hood booger into a respectable man. It is easier. to have a nice guy get some self-respect than to turn a hood booger into a respectable man. So, yeah, even though nice guys have their issues because sometimes they can be doormats, and that's not attractive to a lot of women. That's not attractive. I mean, I don't find men who do everything I say attractive. Um, Men who have boundaries are attractive, but I'll tell you what, I would choose a nice guy over a doormat, a nice guy over a hood booger any day, any day. Over here. She is going to be in a world of hurt with that man. Now, nice guys. One thing that happened with Alan in the show is he got upset. He's like, I did all this stuff for you and you didn't do this for me. That's your fault though, bro. Women do this too. We do this too. We'll say, I did, I showed up to him for this and I bought him that and I bent over backwards for this and I did over that and then he left me. Um, First of all, nobody asked you to do that. Nobody asked you to do that. And secondly, if you're doing things just to get someone to like you, that's manipulative. That's manipulative. If you're being nice, which is why I said you need to be kind. If you're being nice just to get someone to like you, that's manipulative. So sometimes nice guys, nice girls can be people pleasers and it's actually manipulative. And I've talked about this before in other videos because it's not genuine. Number one, you're not genuinely being who you are. So this guy, so Alan, low key, which is funny. I think Alan has a lot of black friends. He's like, I think, he's from Chicago. He has a very diverse group of friends. He dresses as such, if you catch my drift. Um, and so, oh my gosh, I forgot where I was going with that. But oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh, I hate when that happens. Don't you guys hate when that happens? I hate when that happens so much. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, it's gonna bother me. It's gonna bother me so much. I don't remember. Anyway, there are nice girls and nice guys, and they always finish last because those are the people who do not have boundaries. Both men and both healthy men and women respect men and women who have boundaries because, like, on a biological level, we know that people who have boundaries respect themselves, and that is attractive. That is attractive. On a biological level, men do not find women who sleep around attractive because they know that they don't have self-respect. They know that. So they will engage in such foolery with you. These men will sleep around with you, but they will not marry you because they know that you don't respect yourself on a biological level. Healthy people. Now, if you want to go around and there's a bunch of unhealthy men and women running around and sleeping around with each other, that's fine. But if someone is like genuinely looking for marriage, they can peep when are a transactional woman. They can intuit that you are a transactional woman, someone who doesn't respect herself, someone who doesn't value herself, either as a people pleaser or someone who gives her body up freely. And on a biological gut level, they will find you repulsive. And the women who go around and sleep around with men on a gut level, they find healthy men unattractive. They find them repulsive because their trauma says, "No, no, 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 no. Don't get too close to someone who might treat you well. You need to keep getting pumped and dumped." So they both need to go to therapy. They both need some classical counseling, okay? One of them needs to understand the value of boundaries, and the other needs to figure out why she is attracted to um that. Why she's attracted to men who are living in their parents' basement with no ambitions in sight, who like to party till 3 o'clock in the morning and eat 6 tacos at a time. And that maybe that's the question for some of you. Maybe the question for some of you is, why am I attracted to men who don't respect themselves? Or why am I attracted to men who don't respect women? And why do I find healthy men repulsive? Because some of us do. Is Alan all the way healthy? No. I think he's got some work to do, but he's certainly a step up from David. And the truth is, when you guys if you're married, you will realize this, that nobody is as healthy as they think they are once they get into a marriage. Okay? Um Even the person that you marry will not be as healthy as you think they are, because marriage creates a different kind of pressure that brings out a lot of things, brings up a lot of things for in a marriage. So it's not like this is the last thing I'll say about this. A lot of people think, okay, the person that I get when I'm dating is exactly who the person you're going to get when you're married. No, you're going to get that person. All of their bad qualities are going to be turned up. And it doesn't matter how long you date. Because there's this thing where we think that, like, okay, well, if I date for 5 years and then I marry them, then I've seen the real them. No, you haven't. There is something that happens, particularly if you don't live together. But even if you do live together, you're still auditioning for each other. So because you're auditioning for each other, you're still in this like, I'm not gonna turn up my personality all the way up for you. I'm not gonna let it all the way out, because you may see glimpses of it, but marriage creates a pressure cooker that a lot of people, are just simply not ready for. So whatever quality that you see when they're dating, when you're dating, the good ones and the bad ones will be turned up in marriage. So don't go thinking that, oh, this is how this is how they are when we're dating, this is how it's gonna be. No. Which means you can look at marriages two ways. Like, I'll never get married because, I don't wanna experience that with someone. Or you can say, my stuff's gonna get turned up too, which means I get to grow too. Before I got married, one of the parents of the athletes that I worked with said, if you can just look at marriage as a mirror, it'll be fine. Look at marriage as a mirror. Whenever you are experiencing something, you guys are going through something, it is a mirror for you. So instead of shining that focus on that person, you go, okay, what about me? Of course, this doesn't apply to like abuse and all that, but you know what I mean? Like just general stuff. And look at it as a place to grow. How can I grow from this? Again, not talking about SA or, emotional or verbal abuse, but just in general, how can I grow from this? And that's again why when women pick men like David, men who live in their basements, and you're someone who works, you're an executive at a company and you choose a man like that, you don't want to grow. You want to stay exactly where you are. You just want to have fun. You're not really interested in growing, because the right person will challenge you to grow. You guys will challenge each other to grow in a relationship. All right, you guys, that is it for today's video. I know this actually, there's one thing I wanted to show you guys. Let me share this with you guys. This will be a treat for all of you guys who watch to the end. Let me show you guys this. I want to show you guys one thing. And because it's Friday, we're gonna do a little Faith Friday. Let me show you guys one little thing that I meant to do at the beginning of the stream, but this is good for my my Christian folks. Okay, so let's see. History. No, playlist. Here it is. I want you guys to watch this, and this is like I think this is just perfect for Valentine's Day, especially as Christians. Okay, so let's see. Present, share screen. Da, 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 da. Okay, let's see. Can you guys hear me? Let me know.
This woman said, I love Jesus. And then this happened. You need to see it to believe it.
Has to have a relationship with Jesus. And what are some deal breakers? No relationship with Jesus. Poor communication.
Toes hanging off the shoes for me. So he and she talking about like Jesus thing, like much stress, man.
The Jesus thing. That's all it was. Yeah, my mom a Jehovah's Witness, and my other half, they part Muslim.
Pop my balloon just because of the Muslim.
This guy loved Jesus, and she asked what his relationship with Jesus looked like. But then she said this.
Like every day trying to walk and get it right, like have him like guide me, you know.
Okay.
Sunday I usually watch 3 or 4 sermons on TV if I don't actually go to church, you know what I'm saying?
I'm feeling vibe here. I'm feeling vibe. Oh, for me, it's the height thing.
Like,
I
I can do like this, I can and let you pop. So.
My wife. This woman said, I love Jesus.
Were you guys able to hear that? I hope you guys, somebody let me know if you could hear that. Okay, so if you didn't hear it, let me tell you. She's like, I love Jesus, and all the guys start popping their balloons, which is actually very representative of what the current state of the United States is, okay? There's not a lot of people who are into the Jesus thing, right? So all these guys pop their balloons. And then there's one guy left who says, you know, if I don't go to church, I watch 3 or 4 sermons on a Sunday. And the reason why she popped her balloon was because of his height. Now, I'm going to fast forward so you guys can see the height difference. Let me show you guys.
I loved Jesus, and she asked what his relationship with Jesus looked like. But then she said this.
Like every day trying to walk and get it right, like have him like guide me, you know.
Okay.
Sunday I usually watch 3 or 4 sermons on TV if I don't actually go to church, you know what I'm saying?
I'm feeling vibe here.
Look at that. And you know what she says? He's too short. Don't be this woman. He's too short. Stop. This is what happens when you think that the height, age, I can understand. I can understand age. There's a very specific reason why. Age, women, like biologically, are more mature than men by about 5 years. Age, I can understand. It's not like, and she's wearing heels, you guys. It's not, they are almost the same height. And all these men popped. And she said, no, I don't want to date you because you're not tall enough. And again, I could see if he was like, if she was like 5'8" and he was like, you know, 5'6". But she is wearing heels and they're pretty much the same height. And you are going to let this man who is a believer, who's like a genuine believer, you're going to pass up the opportunity to at least get to know him because he's too short. Don't be like that. Because what scares me about this is that a lot of times women will say that they want a believer, they say that they want a Christian man, but they will go for the 6'2" halfway believer, halfway in the church, halfway out, 1 foot in hell, 1 foot in out men. Not if that's a real thing, it's a joke. Because he's 6'1" versus someone who's all in for Jesus because he's 5'8" or 5'9". Liking men for their height is transactional. That's transactional. And I don't think I'm here to tell you, as someone who was single until they were 35, that is not the way to go. And trust me, I've had my height requirements. It is not the way to go. You really want to choose someone who has the same values as you, someone who is going to help you grow. You really, really want that. That's really what you want. All right, you guys, that's it for today's video. If whether you agree or disagree, that's fine. You can disagree, you just can't do so disrespectfully. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.